This is Aaron Golub, host of the Blind Ambition podcast. We'll be bringing you world-class leaders, entrepreneurs, and athletes, people who have overcome obstacles and used their ambition to create enormous success in their lives. If you enjoy this podcast, if you get anything out of it, the only thing I'll ever ask is that you subscribe, rate, and review. Hope you enjoy.
Awesome. Well, everyone, I'm Aaron Golub, your host, as you know, and today I'm here with Sammy Adams, also known as Sam. Thanks so much for being here today.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thanks for having me.
How's everything going for you the past 6, 7, 8 or so months during quarantine?
It's been okay. I have to be a little more careful with stuff because both of my parents have both my parents have like my mom has a respiratory issue, my dad has leukemia, so have to be really careful with that type of stuff. Especially like traveling wise, it's just a little too suspect to do it right now. So that's really like the only kind of burden that I've really had with COVID is obviously the music industry's shut down for touring, which fucking blows. But making the most of it and kind of just trying to channel like the frustration and all the things that have been going on in the country and the social injustices and all the police brutality and stuff, trying to like kind of use that as inspiration to make, make music that can influence people. And I think we have a really hard problem in the country right now of trying to, everyone's got to be right about this, got to be right about that. So like the division in this country is like definitely bothered me.
I think that's so crucial. I think so many people are
Absolutely.
So far one side or the other, and no one can come together and agree.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, most of it, like a lot of the times I stay out of politics because it's almost like a battle you can't win regardless of what side you're on. It's like,
exactly.
You say one thing that's like not even derogatory towards either Trump or Joe Biden, and you have these fucking trolls and people that just go nuts. It's almost like you said, like, fuck your mom or like fuck your daughter, like it's one of your family members. It's like the amount of people that had this cult brainwashing thing going on in their head about these presidents is pretty scary to watch, to be honest.
No, 100%. How have you specifically adapted throughout the time of quarantine with your music, with not having shows? What have you done differently and allowed yourself to maybe stand out during this time when others maybe aren't?
Just really focusing on like my craft. I want to use this year, next year as kind of the stepping stools to getting better as a producer, better as a songwriter. That's kind of away from the Sammy Adams project. For a little while, it's kind of thinking that like the Sammy Adams things ran its course because it's like a very, it was a lot of people put me in that box of like frat rap, blah, 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 which is fine because like, it gets played at frats and shit. I just like don't like the stigmatized shit about how I can only make that because obviously a lot of people don't go through my discography and see how many other types of genres and songs I have. So basically just been working on producing. I built a studio like literally end of February, so knocked that out in perfect timing. So I basically had a home studio, and then like all my stuff is pretty mobile, so I can take it to Boston. I can take it on like work trips. Like you said, obviously we have no shows, but yeah, who knows? Hopefully people start to smarten up and we can get back to normal living. But that is a pretty tough feat at this point.
Yeah. So, when I was kind of looking into you a little more, one thing that I noticed, you've been in the music industry really your entire life. I mean, you started off playing piano at a really young age and becoming incredibly good at it. What started that journey, and then eventually what transitioned, piano to creating your own music kind of vocally?
Honestly, like a lot of it was, my parents had me in classical training stuff. I was terrible at music theory. I had this one French teacher that used to like hit a note and there'd be like 2 students waiting in the fucking same room. And he'd like hit a note and you'd have to be like, A, C. And I was back then, like I've always been an extrovert, but it was just like the most embarrassing thing in the world. So I never wanted to take classical lessons again. And then I met a teacher that my parents found, who was the coolest fucking dude ever. His name was Tyson Rogers. And he taught me how to improvise in the scale of C, like taught me the blues scale and all this stuff. And like that just reinvigorated my love for music because I could, you know, play whatever I wanted. And like, while I probably couldn't perfectly verbatim play back everything that I just played you, it feels good to be able to make stuff up on the spot and improvise and do all that. And then once Apple and, you know, Microsoft came out with the production programs, one click and you have a symphony orchestra or like a drum kit or the most amazing pianos on earth. So the learning the piano at a young age and learning how to improvise definitely had a monstrous influence on going right into the production programs like Logic and Fruity Loops and all types of stuff.
Absolutely. You know, throughout the years, you've seen some great successes with your music. You know, we've talked about maybe kind of the stigma that some people have around some of your songs today. You know, how have you been able to balance that, and what drives you forward to get to that point where maybe people are looking at the other genres, the other areas of music that you've created, and maybe seeing your kind of work in a different light?
Yeah, I mean, you know, a lot of the music, like the musician's process, at least for me, is if it catches my ear and I like it, I run with it. And I'd say, like, you know, some of the most successful, most popular songs I have aren't even sold. They're just on YouTube because of copyright issues and like little beefs here and there with people. Because if you remix someone's song and fucking body them, then they're not really that stoked with you. Even like, you know, even though I reached out before and was like, this could be an official remix, blah, 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 dudes got butthurt over that. But as far as like the stigmatized stuff with music, it's, you know, as an artist, whatever your medium is, if you're a painter, if you're a photographer, if you're a writer, if you're a musician, whatever, you know, you have to realize that you make music or you should make music for you. And a lot of the major label process that I didn't like was that it was always like, ooh, this one could hit because this sounds like these people at this radio station would love this type of record. And I always hated chasing hits. You know, my favorite artists, just like, they could give a fuck what people think. And, you know, they're legendary because of the fact that they put out what they want. And, you know, most of the times, if you put out something that you like and that you want to be out, people will dig it. As long as it's genuine and it's authentic and it has to sound good. It all comes down to the music, to be honest.
I think that's so powerful. If it's genuine, if you love it, then, you know, do what you want and don't listen to other people's opinions.
Absolutely.
That doesn't matter. It only matters what you think of it.
Of course.
You know, going back to kind of your college days, you know, you were really successful as, you know, a soccer player as well. At Hobart, at Trinity, you were also a team captain, which, you know, amazing leadership skills there.
Yeah.
You know, I was a captain of my football team in college, so I kind of get the you know, responsibility, the, you know, pride that comes behind that. But, you know, what led you down that path as well? And, you know, what was it like not only balancing school, but soccer and music?
It was a lot, definitely. I definitely kind of bit off more than I could chew. For the first couple months, it was really hectic because, you know, like you said, talking about it, taking a leadership role on a soccer team. Kids looked up to me for that reason. They looked up to me because, you know, of my ability on the field. And then also they had admiration for the fact that I was juggling all three of these things. But it was difficult. If I didn't have like the most amazing soccer coach, Mike Pilger, I wouldn't have been able to do any of it because some of it got in the way of practices, some of it got in the way of games. I didn't miss any games, but I was just like late coming back from places and had to meet the team some places. So it was really challenging. I was super proud of myself because like I held a 3.5 throughout doing all this shit and traveling and being captain of the team. But, you know, doing 2-a-days and 3-a-days and shit in preseason, it's almost leaves you with zero time to do anything else. So it's hard because you kind of put that extra pressure on yourself, like subconsciously, by trying to take all these things over. And I mean, obviously, like I have ADD, so I've tried to multitask as much as I can, but these are 3 things that are a lot bigger than just a fucking task. It's like, you know, diploma, career, sports, you know. So it was pretty tough to balance, but to be honest, the guys on my squad and everybody that was part of that family were super supportive. And, you know, for the ones that weren't, like, good luck, dude, being a white rapper. It's like, I never really wanted to be a white rapper. I just wanted to be an artist. The white rapper thing is, like, kind of just, like, jaded and played out to me, because it's like, you know, I know people think of, like, R.I.P. to, like, Mac Miller as a rapper, but really he was a fucking artist. Like, he was ahead of his time in terms of just being a white rapper. I think it takes a little of, like, the accomplishment and the hard nitty gritty, put your nose to the street and ears to the street type of shit. Kind of just degrades that, which is like, you know, we work our fucking asses off, and like I said before, there's probably a lot of stuff on our discographies that you haven't even heard of. So
100%. No, I love that. You know, what do you have coming up in the future? What are the goals? You know, I know you said you want to focus a lot on your music, on producing, things like that, but what are kind of the long-term goals of this? Where do you want to take your career? Like, what are you trying to become with everything that you're doing?
I'm not, you know, to be honest, it's a good question. I've kind of have my feet in a few different buckets in terms of where I want to go. I want to get my own show on Apple Music, which shouldn't be too far away, because I've been working there for almost 2.5 years. I want to put out a full-length LP. I want to change my name or come up with a new name for my production stuff to keep it separate from Sammy Adams. But I would say, you know, I want to get into production more, and I want to, I'd say in 5 years, like, probably pivot more towards the production DJ side. And also, I want to go to school for film scoring.
Very cool. No, that's awesome. Very different goals, and great to, you know, sometimes you just have to make that pivot, and that's necessary.
Yeah, absolutely.
What advice would you give to someone who's maybe younger in the music industry, or maybe just doesn't know if they can make it and wants to start in it? You know, what would you give advice to that person, whether they're 12, 15, 20, whatever age?
You know, find a DAW that makes sense for you, like Logic or Fruity Loops or Pro Tools, you know, Ableton, whatever. There's a million out there. So find one you're comfortable with. And then, you know, for me, I started out making hip hop beats and then got more into the electronic scene. So it's really just about experimenting. Like, a lot of my biggest records in college that, like I said, that didn't even, you know, make it onto the DSPs or iTunes or anything, are legitimately, like, there's at least 3 mistakes in them that I made, and no one catches them, and it, like, makes the imperfection of your work is kind of perfect for me. So, like, you got to just find your sound and dial it in, and always be open to listening to other music. Don't go down the rabbit hole of comparing yourself to other up and coming artists, because you'll just literally want to blow your head off. Because you just got to pay attention to what you can do. Like, you should beat yourself from yesterday. Every single day you should get better. There's definitely, you know, nothing more important than just buckling down and getting it done. Like, every single day you should watch 15 to 20 tutorials on YouTube about something you're not good at using a production program. And then, you know, if you want to be a producer, that's one lane. If you want to be a writer and an actual artist, you just gotta find some beats and just have fun with it at first. You know, jumping head first into, you know, wanting to become successful in the music industry, it just doesn't happen. You know, it's like, a lot of people called my shit overnight success, but we were touring and doing crazy traveling on tour before we had tour buses, before we had the Cruise America shitty RVs, you know? So once you have a couple songs, like I remember doing shows and we had 7 songs and we were supposed to play for 40 minutes. So I just had to like freestyle over beats for like the last 15 minutes.
Wow.
So, you know, it's basically just like finding what you dig. Cause like I said before, you know, if you really with all your, you know, heart and soul love the music and, you know, the integrity of how you made it, and you know, if it brings joy to you to listen to it and it's awesome, then don't be afraid to share it with people. Share it with your friends, share it with other people, ask for constructive criticism. You know, a lot of people in the music industry are really fucking bad at taking criticism because they think like, oh, well, fuck this dude, I sold 10 million records, blah, blah. And when really it's like, you know, it's exactly what it says. It's constructive criticism. It's not someone being like, you're a fucking bozo.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's like you should try to get as many opinions as you can, but also be careful with that because it's a slippery slope when you start asking people and then you start getting influenced by what people like. And it's like, oh, no, I think you should put this one out. It's your fucking choice. Don't let anybody else tell you what music to drop. Like, especially it gets worse and worse with the labels because you literally are a lemming in that building and there's so many politics and so much shit in the promo department. The presidents, the fucking chairman, all those guys run your career.
Yeah, 100%.
So for me, that's why I love being indie is because I own all my records. I produce most of my records. The ones I don't, I pay my producers up front, give them some royalties and shit. And there's just no red tape, you know, there's no caution flags of like, is this going to go because they're going to put this on, you know, the highest marketing budget possible. It's like we do this shit ourselves and get almost just as much streams. So,
yeah.
So it's really important to just like perfect your craft and make sure that, you know, if this is something you want to do, like you really do have to put the time in. And it's, you know, it's like 10,000 hours pretty much gets you in the door. And then you need another 10 to 15,000 hours of just you sitting at your computer. Also get a good chair or else you're going to fuck your back up.
That's some really good advice right there.
100%,
awesome,
dude.
That's I love the passion behind your work. I love the drive that you have going forward, and I think that you're going to continue to, you know, have big things happen and create, you know, a legacy for yourself.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Where can everyone find you? Kind of info about you, where, you know, your new and upcoming songs and everything about kind of you going forward.
So Instagram is just at Sammy Adams. Twitter's at Sammy Adams. Facebook is facebook.com/Sam Adams Live. And let's see, what else do we got? SoundCloud is Sammy Adams Music. And that's about it. I'm not really on TikTok. So
Awesome.
So that's
cool.
that's the social rundown.
Well, first off, thank you so much for coming on. I'm sure my listeners are going to love this, and I really appreciate it.
Awesome, man. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. If you enjoyed it at all, if you got one thing out of it, we'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe, rate, and review. Thank you.